We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. Huge landslides in Hualien after Taiwan hit by strongest quake in 25 years leaves over 87,000 people without power. Japan, Philippines warned residents to evacuate to higher level areas. World leaders condemn Israeli airstrike on aid workers, calls for a transparent investigation. Israel admits convoy hit unintentionally, promises independent investigation. US President Joe Biden speaks to Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on phone. Talks focus on Taiwan, AI and tech issues. And in Turkey, at least 29 people killed during daytime renovation work at a nightclub in Istanbul. On to the details now. An earthquake with a magnitude of 7.2 hit Taipei, the capital of Taiwan, on Wednesday morning, killing one person, injuring dozens. The Taiwan Central Weather Administration said the epicenter of the quake was in waters off the eastern coastline of Taiwan Island. The quake knocked out power in several parts of the city. The quake was also felt in Shanghai. Meanwhile, Taipei's city government said it has not yet received any reports of major damage. The Chinese state media stated it was felt in Fujiao, Xiamen, Guangzhou and Ningde in China's Fujian province. Taipei residents were rattled after the quake. Taiwan's Central Weather Administration said that aftershocks could still be felt in Taipei. More than 25 aftershocks were also registered in the region. The tremors also caused massive landslides in the eastern mountainous county of Hualien. Taiwan's fire department said one person is suspected to have been crushed to death by falling rocks in Hualien. The area was the epicenter of the quake. Well, following the tsunami warnings triggered after a powerful earthquake, Japan has issued an evacuation advisory for the coastal areas of the southern prefecture of Okinawa. Japan's weather department has said that tsunami waves of up to 3 meters were expected to reach large areas of Japan's southwestern coast, while Philippines have also issued a tsunami warning following a strong Taiwan quake. Well, in view of the earthquake, India-Taipei Association has set up emergency helpline for assistance, guidance or clarification to all Indian nationals living in Taiwan. India-Taipei Association has also provided a phone number 090-524-7906 and email ad.ita@mea.gov.in. And India's Laura Westbrook joins us from Hong Kong for more on the earthquake. Well, Laura, after the powerful earthquake, there has been a massive tsunami warning. What is the current status there right now?
Yes, you're right. Japan's southern prefecture of Okinawa issued a tsunami warning. That's now been downgraded to an advisory, and no damage has been reported in Japan. In Taiwan, though, it's a very different story. That powerful earthquake was felt in Taiwan all the way into the capital, Taipei. It occurred about 2 minutes before 8 a.m. local time. And it was felt in Hualien as well, which was about 18 kilometers away, from Hualien. And that is where the eastern part of the city, that is where the eastern part of Taiwan, that is where most of the damage is being reported. We're getting reports of buildings that have collapsed. We're getting reports that dozens of people have been injured. At least one person has died. And there have been massive landslides reported there as well. Rescuers are now assessing the damage, and the government has said that the aftershocks continue to be felt in Taipei and in Hualien, the eastern part of Taiwan. But major infrastructure remains undamaged. The railway system in the country has been halted, but both nuclear power plants are unaffected.
All right. Also, as you say, the aftershocks are still coming. What are the precautions being taken?
Yes, Taiwanese authorities have opened up some evacuation centers in Hualien, which is one of the areas which has been most affected. So that's for residents who are there, who are continuing to feel the effects of aftershocks in that part of Taiwan. Rescuers are assessing the damage. They also have to get there as well, and so we are monitoring what's happening. But as I said, the major infrastructure in the country appears to be undamaged. Although we are hearing that there are multiple building collapses.
All right. Thank you so much, Laura, for that update from there. And moving on, leaders worldwide condemned the deaths of 7 aid workers in an Israeli airstrike in Gaza. British, Australian, Polish, US, Canadian dual citizen and Palestinian nationals were killed when their convoy was attacked on Monday night. The World Central Kitchen had immediately paused its operations in the region. And the White House said it was outraged by an Israeli airstrike in Gaza that killed 7 people working for World Central Kitchen. U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications John Kirby said that President Joe Biden called the charity aid group's founder to share his condolences.
We were outraged to learn of an IDF strike that killed a number of civilian humanitarian workers yesterday from the World Central Kitchen, which has been relentless in working to get food to those who are hungry in Gaza and, quite frankly, around the world. We send our deepest condolences to their families and loved ones. We expect a broader investigation to be conducted and to be done so in a swift and comprehensive manner. We hope that those findings will be made public and that there is appropriate accountability held.
An Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said on Wednesday his country was outraged by the completely unacceptable death of an Australian aid worker in Gaza from an Israeli airstrike. Albanese said he spoke with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu and conveyed Australia's anger and concern at the death of aid worker Zomi Francom.
I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning with a phone call that was organised overnight. I expressed Australia's anger and concern at the death of Zomi Francom. This is completely unacceptable. The Israeli government has accepted responsibility for this, and Prime Minister Netanyahu conveyed his condolences to the family of Zomi Francom and to Australia as a result of this tragedy.
And Britain on Tuesday summoned the Israeli ambassador over the deaths of aid workers in Gaza. Foreign Secretary David Cameron posted on social media platform X that he had spoken with his Israeli counterpart, Israel Katz, to underline that the deaths were completely unacceptable. He added Israel must urgently explain how this happened and make major changes to ensure safety of aid workers on the ground. Also, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said that Israeli strikes on World Central Kitchen aid workers was devastating. Speaking at a session in United Nations General Assembly, the UN chief said that the attack on aid workers in Gaza was unconscionable.
The devastating Israeli airstrikes that killed World Central Kitchen personnel yesterday bring the number of aid workers killed in this conflict to 196, including more than 175 members of our own UN staff. This is unconscionable but it is an inevitable result of the way the war is being conducted. It demonstrates yet again the urgent need for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire, the unconditional release of all hostages, and the expansion of humanitarian aid into Gaza, as the Security Council demanded in its resolution last week. The resolution must be implemented without delay.
An Israeli chief of staff, Herzi Halevi, apologized on Wednesday for the unintentional harm to the members of the World Central Kitchen in Gaza. He said an independent body will carry out a thorough investigation. He added that the findings of the investigation will be shared with the World Central Kitchen and other relevant international organizations.
This incident was a grave mistake. Israel is at a war with Hamas, not with the people of Gaza. We are sorry for the unintentional harm to the members of WCK. We share in the grief of their families as well as the entire World Central Kitchen organization from the bottom of our hearts. An independent body will investigate the incident thoroughly. We will complete it in the next coming days. We will learn from the conclusions and implement them immediately. We will share in full transparency the findings of the investigation with the World Central Kitchen and other international relevant organizations. We see great importance in the continued delivery of humanitarian aid, and we will keep working to facilitate this vital effort.
And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu too described the incident as tragic and unintended. He said such accidents happen in wartime.
Unfortunately, in the last day, there was a tragic case of our forces unintentionally hitting innocent people in the Gaza Strip. This happens in wartime. We are thoroughly looking into it, are in contact with the governments, and will do everything to ensure it does not happen again.
Well, the U.S. Secretary of State has held talks with the French president as part of a trip to France and Belgium. The Middle East and Ukraine were the top issues on the agenda. Did India's Ross Cullen reports for more.
Well, Antony Blinken and Emmanuel Macron met on Tuesday. Earlier in the day, Antony Blinken had met his French counterparts, the French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourné. And Mr. Séjourné updated Mr. Blinken on his recent trip to China, where he pressed Beijing to use its influence with Moscow to try to bring about an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Earlier on Tuesday, Mr. Blinken toured a weapons factory here in France with the French Defence Minister, saying it was crucial for Western allies to keep up the support for Kiev, particularly providing ammunition to the Ukrainian armed forces. Now, the Middle East was the other major issue for Mr. Blinken and Mr. Macron to discuss on Tuesday, particularly given the ongoing pressure from countries like the United States and France on Israel not to go ahead with its planned offensive in the south of the Gaza Strip around the city of Rafah. Also, the talks between the French president and the United States Secretary of State coming after the killing of Iranian generals in an airstrike believed to have been carried out by Israel inside Syria, and also those talks coming after the deaths of several aid workers after Israeli jets mistakenly targeted the group distributing aid in the Gaza Strip. France has twice this year hosted talks between the United States, Qatar, Egypt and Israel to try to find a deal to release the hostages still being held by Hamas, and also to secure an end to the conflict and discussions of a two-state solution going forward. Now, those talks were held on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the next destination for Mr. Blinken was Brussels, where he will be attending the meeting of NATO foreign ministers. In Paris, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
And still to come on DD India News Now. Ahead of the 75th anniversary of founding of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, allies foreign ministers will meet in Brussels. US opens second channel enabling smaller vessels to navigate the port of Baltimore. And one of the oldest books in existence, the Crosby Shawzand Codex, written around 250 to 350 AD, heads for the auction.
India that invents. India that innovates. India that excites. India that invites. Land of possibilities. Teeming with opportunities. Watch India Ideas each Thursday, 8 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuran, and moving on, US President Joe Biden and China's President Xi Jinping had their first conversation since November. Both the leaders spoke about Taiwan, AI and regular communication. They also reportedly engaged in tough issues as a way to manage their often rocky relationship. Nick Harper reports for more from Washington.
Well, the White House says it was a candid and constructive discussion lasting about an hour and 45 minutes. And it was an opportunity to build on some of the issues the two leaders discussed when they last spoke back in November at a face-to-face meeting in California. Things like collaboration on climate change, counter-narcotics cooperation, how to counter the spread of fentanyl, and ongoing military-to-military communication. But the White House also made it clear that President Joe Biden raised a number of major concerns that the US has with Beijing. In particular, we're told that Biden pushed Washington's concern about any attempts by Beijing to bring Taiwan under its influence and control. Also, concerns about Chinese military build-up in the South China Sea and perceived aggression towards US allies like the Philippines. And Washington's worries about China's support of Russia in its war against Ukraine. This was a chance to try and diffuse tensions between the two countries that have been rocky for many months. Both leaders, we're told, underscored the value that they see in frequent engagements and the attempt to return to regular phone calls. However, there was no agreement out the back of this call for the two men to meet again face to face. While the White House said it was possible, there was no firm commitment from either side or a firm date. However, in the coming weeks there will be a series of high-level engagements, with the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken due to travel to Beijing in the coming weeks. In Washington, Nick Harper, reporting for DD India.
Well, during the conversation, Biden stressed support for Taiwan, but she called a US interference in the South China Sea a red line. DD India's Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong for more.
Yes, this was the first call between the two presidents since they met in San Francisco last November, where ties partly stabilized. There have been tensions between the two countries, and this call was really seen as another attempt to try and stabilize those tensions and create more dialogue. The two leaders discussed a range of issues, from artificial intelligence to military communications. Mr. Biden wrote on Twitter following the call that he looked forward to responsibly managing the relationship in the weeks and months ahead, while President Xi Jinping that he hoped to strengthen dialogue in a mutually respectful way. But the US did push its view. It stressed that the importance of peace in the Taiwan Strait, as well as the rule of law and navigation in the South China Sea. Xi Jinping in China said the US interference in the South China Sea was a red line. And analysts are really saying that this call was a way to show the world that the two leaders of the two world's biggest economies are speaking, and then there is dialogue. But there is still significant tensions between the two countries, not least over Taiwan, as well as over trade, and as well in Hong Kong. Hong Kong passed a domestic national security law, and the US State Department has said that it will impose visa restrictions on some Hong Kong officials that it deemed responsible for a crackdown on freedoms here.
Well, NATO foreign ministers will meet on Wednesday to discuss how to put military support for Ukraine on a long-term footing, including a proposal for a $107 billion fund. The plans will be discussed during a two-day meeting in Brussels that will celebrate the 75th anniversary of the founding of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The aim is to have an aid package finalized in time for a NATO summit, which will be held in Washington in July. The proposals by NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg would give the Western Alliance a more direct role in coordinating the supply of arms, ammunition and equipment to Ukraine. Ministers are also expected to discuss the race to replace Stoltenberg. NATO is celebrating the 75th anniversary of NATO's founding on Thursday. The Defence Alliance was established in 1949 in the aftermath of World War II with just 12 members and today now has 32. Well, the United States has warned Iran not to retaliate against it for an attack on Iran's embassy compound in Syria on Tuesday, stating it had no prior warning. U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Robert Wood, said, "We will not hesitate to defend our personnel and repeat our prior warnings to Iran and its proxies not to take advantage of the situation."
We will not hesitate to defend our personnel and repeat our prior warnings to Iran and its proxies not to take advantage of the situation. Again, an attack in which we had no involvement or advanced knowledge to resume their attacks on U.S. personnel. Even as we continue to learn more about this incident, it seems clear that every member of this Council should reiterate that all states, including Iran and Syria, have a responsibility to avoid the path of escalation, to stop arming and advising terrorist groups, and to rein in the actions of proxies who threaten regional peace and security.
And satellite imagery released by Maxa Technologies showed an overview of Damascus after the attack. Well, moving on, North Korea successfully test-fired a new mid-to-long-range solid-fuel hypersonic missile on Wednesday. The state-run television KRT released a video of state's leader Kim Jong-un overseeing the launch and lauding it as a strategic weapon that demonstrates the absolute superiority of North Korea's defense technology. As per the state media, Kim said North Korea has fully turned all tactical, operational and strategic-grade missiles of different ranges into solid fuel with warhead control and capable of nuclearization. North Korea fired a suspected intermediate range ballistic missile into the sea, drawing swift condemnation from South Korea, Japan and the United States. A fire at an Istanbul nightclub during renovations on Tuesday has left at least 29 people dead. The nightclub, which was closed for renovations, was on the ground floor of a 16-story residential building in the Besiktas district on the European side of the city. The Istanbul governor's office said a further 8 people were injured, with 7 of those in serious condition. Arrest warrants were issued for 5 people, including the management of the club and the person responsible for the renovations. Well, Donald Trump has posted a $175 million bond tied to his civil fraud case. This comes a week after an appeals court substantially reduced the amount the former president needed to pay. William Denselor reports for more from New York.
In a series of social media posts, Donald Trump accused the legal system of being corrupt and politicised and railed against the fact he had to pay a bond before the appeals process is concluded. Donald Trump was ordered to pay roughly $450 million after a New York judge found that he'd inflated the value of his assets for favourable terms from lenders. But just last week, an appeals court lowered that figure to $175 million as Trump continues to fight the judge's ruling. In a statement, a lawyer for Trump said he made the payment as promised and looked forward to vindicating his rights on appeal. The bond was secured through Knight Specialty Insurance Company. The chairman of the group that owns the insurance firm is said to be a Trump supporter. But speaking to US broadcaster ABC News, Don Hankey said it was more of a business decision than personal allegiance. The bond payment has dampened speculation that Trump may have bank assets frozen or assets seized to cover his legal penalties. But if his appeal is rejected, he'll be forced to pay the full figure to the tune of $464 million. The former president's due back in court later this month for the start of a criminal trial here in Manhattan. He's accused of paying hush money to a porn star ahead of the 2016 presidential election. He denies wrongdoing and says all his various legal battles are politically motivated. William Denslow in New York reporting for DD India.
And it's been a whole week since a major bridge in the US city of Baltimore collapsed after a container ship lost power and crashed into it, killing 6 construction workers. The vessel, the Dali, is still stuck in the Patapsco River, and the unnamed 21-man crew, all but one of whom are Indian citizens, remain on board till probe completes. DD India's Benji Hire reports for more.
Less than 2 kilometres from this giant cargo ship lodged in wreckage sits Andrew Middleton, texting the Indian seafarers on board. He's been checking in with the crew several times a day since the collision.
The interactions I've had with the 2 crew members that I have contact with, I've kind of limited my questions to just how they're doing and if there's any need on board. The responses have ranged from we're very busy to everyone is great. I'm trying not to be too intrusive, but they're doing. I'm sure they're doing the best that they can to occupy themselves given the circumstances.
Andrew's programme, Apostleship of the Sea, provides comfort and assistance to those coming through Baltimore's port. Just the weekend before the Dali set sail on its weeks-long planned voyage to Sri Lanka, he'd taken some of the crew out shopping.
There's a ship approaching. It just lost their steering.
Days later, they were sending a mayday message as they helplessly watched their boat strike and take down the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
C-13 dispatch, the whole bridge just fell down.
When you're on a ship and things go quiet, it's the worst sound you've ever heard. It really is. It's horrifying because you've lost control. There's nothing you can do. I mean, you're literally at the mercy of inertia and currents and winds.
For now, there's no plan to change out the crew. They're unlikely to be allowed to disembark until the ship itself is moved. But that can't happen yet, as debris from the accident has to first be cleared to free the vessel from the bridge. Some of the crew, though not necessarily all, have the documentation required to set foot stateside. They may need medical assessments following the ordeal. They could be repatriated or forced to wait here until the ship is repaired. Senior ranks may be kept even longer to partake in a formal investigation. All this could take days, weeks, even months. There's no exact timeline on extraction. Until then, the sailors, among the hundreds of thousands of Indians employed in the global maritime industry, have ample supplies of food, water and internet as they manage and maintain the vessel.
My center, along with the Baltimore National Seafarer Center and the ITF, have worked together as partners to get Wi-Fi hotspots out to them, SIM cards for their phones so that they can continue to have that ability to communicate back home.
Andrew's praying they'll be able to see loved ones again in person soon. Benji Hire in Baltimore, reporting for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Peru's President Dina Boluarte has been accused of amassing $56,000 in jewelry in her possession and money transactions from unknown origin. Boluarte is already under investigation over her possession of pricey Rolex watches. 6 primary school students were killed and 14 others were injured when a refrigerator truck veered into a group of children in the southern Iraqi city of Basra on Tuesday. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani ordered an immediate investigation into the fatal accident. One of the oldest books in existence is heading to the auction. The Cross by Shawyan Codex from Egypt was written around 250 to 350 AD at a time before the Bible as we know it was assembled. It consists of 104 pages and was written by one scribe over a period of 40 years in one of the very first Christian monasteries in Upper Egypt, founded by Saint Pachomius. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York highlights Akshay Patra initiative at United Nations. Campaigning heats up for the upcoming general elections, leaders to hold rallies to woo voters. And India's Health Ministry of Welfare will chair a meeting with various stakeholder agencies to review preparedness to tackle heat-related illness.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. Huge landslides in Hualien after Taiwan hit the strongest quake in 25 years. Leaves over 87,000 people without power. Japan, Philippines warn residents to evacuate to higher level areas. World leaders condemn Israeli airstrike on aid workers. Calls for a transparent investigation. Israel admits convoy hit unintentionally. Promises independent investigation. US President Joe Biden speaks to Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping on phone. Talks about Taiwan, AI and tech issues. And in Turkey, at least 29 people killed during daytime renovation work at a nightclub in Istanbul. And now we are joined by Dr. O.P. Mishra, Director, National Centre for Seismology in India's Ministry of Earth Sciences, with us on the earthquake in Taiwan. Welcome to DD India, sir. Good morning, sir. Welcome to DD India.
Good morning.
Sir, as we know that a major earthquake hit Taiwan in 25 years, the tremors were strong and injured several people. Tsunami warning has also been issued. What do you think? What factors contribute to the high seismic activity, especially in the Taiwan belt?
It is purely the seismotectonic setting of the Taiwan. You know, the Taiwan is located in between the Eurasian plate and the Philippine Sea plate, and they have the different converging rates. So the Philippine Sea plate is moving at 8 centimeter per year and the lesser than the Eurasian plate. So it was actually the plate convergence causing the stress built up in the entire equal to territory of the Taiwan Islands. But if you see this earthquake, after 25 years Chichi earthquake, you found that this is the eastern coast of the eastern Taiwan. It is sub-oceanic earthquake. Means it was occurred within the ocean but in the coastal belt. So it was already not a puzzle, because there are many earthquakes occurring in Hualien. Like you can see that in the year 2018, 6th February, the magnitude was measured in 6.2. Again in the 19 also the magnitude 18th April, just in April 2019, there was the magnitude 6.3. So the seismicity is dictated by the fault system, tectonics and several causative factors that is leading to the genesis of the earthquake. So it is not a puzzle. If you see the many earthquakes also of the lower magnitude are occurring in the Hualien.
All right. Also, Taiwan Central Weather Administration said that the earthquake registered the second highest intensity of an upper 6 in Hualien County. Can you please explain what the upper 6 thing means?
Actually, you see, if the earthquake magnitude you take, means it is the level of the magnitude, it was the energy content. So if the magnitude 6 is there, whatever the energy they have, the 7 magnitude earthquake will be the 33 times of the 6. So 6 was called a strongest earthquake. And as we go on the upper and upper, 6 above means this magnitude recorded initially 7.4, but revised to 7.2 by the Taiwan, the weather bureau forecast. It was the 7.2. So 7.2 comes the strong earthquake. That means they have capability to high PGA value to shaking too much energy generation. But if it was the lesser than the 6, then it was just a moderate to strong earthquake, depending that how the seismic wave is getting attenuated. So upper 6 wave magnitude earthquake means the more energy content, falling in the destructive earthquake category.
All right. Also, sir, what are the major risks and challenges which are posed by the earthquake, especially if we talk about this particular belt?
Actually, Taiwan and even the Japan and all countries, they have taken a very impressive measures of doing that. But the problem is that earthquake is not forecasted well before the occurrence of the event. So the thing is that only precautionary measure is that we have the history of the earthquake. We know that how much energy is generating in these earthquake-prone areas like Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippine area. Then in this case, the measure is that you have to earthquake risk resilient structure. And you can see that whatever the damage pattern seen in Taiwan, most of the buildings are the earthquake risk resilient. They resisted the earthquake shaking. Most of the seismic energy or seismic wave get attenuated. But the foundation was not up to the so strong to withstand all the shaking. That's why there is a damages and collapse of the building taking place. So here the area has been demarcated already, that this is the earthquake of more than 6 magnitude earthquake. Coastal belt structures, whatever building, it should be the earthquake risk resilient. Some structures are earthquake proof of the past earthquakes. So there should be a retrofitting whatever the buildings damages taking place. And there is the precautionary measures that whatever the building codes they have made, if there is a dynamic revision each and every time for the coastal areas. So the alertness to the earthquake occurrences and what was its impact already they have been assessed, and following of the new building design codes, that is the most important aspect for here. Because earth is not predicted or forecasted with present state of knowledge. But they have demarcated the zone, that which zone is going to impede what category of the earthquake. It was destructive or a strong or too strong earthquakes. So these all the precautions should be taken, and I think Taiwan has taken enough. Otherwise, if such type of earthquake occurred in the coastal belt, massive disasters might have happened. So buildings are actually the testimony that they have most earthquake risk resilient buildings they have been built up, but only 25 to 30 buildings show the impact of the earthquake shaking on there. Maybe the foundational design was not up to the mark to attenuate the seismic waves. So these are actually the cases.
All right. Also, sir, you just said that prediction is not possible. But do you think there is any way where the scientists can monitor the earthquakes in the region?
Yeah, science is monitoring earthquake around the corner by the seismograph and accelerograph called a strong motion. And prediction means they have the 4 stages of the prediction. So entire world has earthquake prediction. They crossed the 3 stages. That means they have the knowing the expectation where the earthquake happened. They have the scientific justification why it is going to happen. And but anticipation, we anticipate that this is demarcated zone. But these expectation, anticipation, and justification are without the reference of time, space, size. So now the third step is authentication. That what the world is working. That if they authenticate this type of the informations, then you can predict the earthquake. But at the same time, research is going on to understand the earthquake generating mechanism, what type of the source faults is there. So that's why in order to monitor the behavior of the source zone, behavior of the source fault, we have to have around the corner monitoring of the entire world. You might have seen that there is the IRIS station all over the world. In Taiwan has its own seismographic, accelerographic stations. Japan has a dense seismographic network to monitor the earthquake of a smaller magnitude to the bigger magnitude. A smaller earthquake is important to say that where the earthquake is releasing, where the stress is releasing, where the stress is accumulating, where the stress is too much quiescence there is no stress release. So all these monitoring scientific factors can be used in the robustic earthquake prediction and forecasting model, maybe we understand the mechanism then. By that way, monitoring is going on, but at the same time, science has given also the parameters to a structure or build the infrastructure earthquake risk resilient, so that maximum shaking can be attenuated, not damaging the building. So two research is going on in seismological research. One is the earthquake risk resilient structure or infrastructure using the all seismological and geotechnical parameters. And second is the monitoring around the corner to understand the behavior of the earthquake seismogenesis as well as the causative faults. So I think these all the worlds are doing to develop a model. But the problem is that the same earthquake occurring in the same zone actually behave differently, because it was most unpredictable in the behavior. So there is no thumb rule that if particular earthquake of particular magnitude is detected on particular fault, the other earthquake behave similarly. So that was actually the challenges.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and giving us that information. And moving on, India's permanent representative to the United Nations, Ruchira Kamboj, praised the commendable work done by Akshay Patra Foundation in ensuring food security and nutrition to the millions of children. Kamboj was speaking at the United Nations session titled Achievements in Food Security, India's Strides Towards Sustainable Development Goals.
The Akshay Patra Foundation's relentless efforts in serving billions of meals celebrate and carry forward these cherished traditions. Akshay Patra has served meals to countless children, ensuring the makers of the world's future are well nourished.
Well, Kamboj further emphasized India's progress in tackling poverty, with over 415 million people stepping out of it, significantly ahead of the 2030 target.
We are taking bold steps, especially in eradicating poverty. Over 415 million people in India have stepped out of poverty. Among the 25 countries that halved their multi-dimensional poverty within 15 years, much ahead of 2030.
And now let's get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. Ahead of the general elections 2024, India's Union Minister and Bharatiya Janata Party leader Amit Shah will hold a public rally in northern city of Muzaffarnagar in Uttar Pradesh today. Later on, Shah will also meet the Lok Sabha core group in Moradabad. Discussions on election strategy and key priorities for the state will likely take the centre stage during the meet. Indian leaders are leaving no stone unturned to campaign for the upcoming elections. Union Defence Minister and BJP leader Rajnath Singh will also hold a public meeting at northern city of Ghaziabad in Uttar Pradesh today. He will also attend the nomination filing event of party's candidate Atul Garg. BJP President JP Nadda will address two public rallies in Uttarakhand today. Following his campaign, he will meet with the Saints Society in the city of Haridwar on Thursday. Nadda's rally comes a day after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the state. BJP candidate and lower house speaker Om Birla will file his nominations today. He is contesting from northwestern state of Rajasthan's parliamentary constituency, Kota Bundi. Also, Congress party leader Rahul Gandhi will file his nomination papers for Wayanad Lok Sabha seat in southern state of Kerala today, seeking re-election. Before filing of his nomination, the Congress leader will hold a road show in his constituency. Whereas Communist Party of India's Annie Raja will also file nomination from the same seat today. And India's correspondent Sunit Sukumar joins us from Wayanad in Kerala. Well, Sunit, Rahul Gandhi got massive votes last time here. What's the trend showing this time?
Look, actually, definitely, it is certain that Rahul Gandhi will have to face a tough competition this time, because the things are not same as in 2019. This time, like, he is facing BJP state chief as his opponent, and also like another candidate from LDF and another candidate from LDF. And also, like in 2019, things were very favorable to Rahul Gandhi, which paved the way for a massive margin of more than 4 lakhs votes. So, but like at that time, like Congress was mainly focusing on one publicity. It's like Rahul Gandhi would be the next prime minister. That was the main campaign of the Congress, and that has resulted, that has resulted in marking around 90 seats for the UDF party in Kerala in 2019. But things have changed recently because like Wayanad has been witnessing a lot of issues in the very recent years, especially with the wild animal attack, and also like there are some lack of infrastructure developments and also like road connectivity. Wayanad is facing a lot of crisis, and especially with the tourism and many other industries are suffering. So according to the people in Wayanad, like there is no one to address all their issues in the parliament. So definitely there is a kind of things are not very favorable to Rahul Gandhi at this time.
All right. Also, there are many minorities in that area. What do you think? What role will they play during the elections?
Well, minorities plays an important role in Wayanad election because, here, minority people is the majority here. In Wayanad itself, we can say it's like Wayanad, Calicut, Malappuram. These are the places which comes under Wayanad constituency. So definitely in these areas, minority people, like they play a major role, mostly Muslim people. So minority issues always have impact in these areas. For example, like if you're considering this CAA and these kind of issues are being taken by the opposition parties, like LDF and Congress parties, like they are campaigning against the BJP, and so definitely these minority areas are in favor of Congress. So since 2019, since 2009 onwards, when the Wayanad constituency was formed, these minority people are they're keeping their stance always in favor of Congress and CPM. So definitely they are also playing an important role in this election. But at the same time, we have to consider the local issues and the local development issues as well.
All right. Thank you so much, Sunit, for that information and update from Kerala. And moving on, conducting polls in India, which has over 968 million voters, is no mean feat. Our next report tells you more about the logistics behind the world's largest election.
$968 million. That's the number of registered voters in India. It is more than the combined population of the United States and the European Union. In 2024, nearly 50 countries including the US and Mexico are going to polls. More than 2 billion voters will cast their ballots, and nearly half of them will be in India alone. The more you delve into numbers, you realize that conducting general elections in India is a mammoth exercise. India is the world's 7th largest country by land area, comprising 28 states and 8 union territories. The Election Commission will conduct the 2024 general elections to elect 543 lower house members in 7 phases from April 19th to June 1st. The results will be out on June 4th. Over 15 million election officials will be deployed across 1 million polling stations throughout the country. Over 5.5 million electronic voting machines will be used for the exercise. Of the total 968 million voters, 497 million are male, 471 million are female, while about 48,000 belong to the third gender. Also, nearly 18 million voters will exercise their franchise for the first time ever. Let's also take a look at the key statistics of the last Indian general elections that were held in 2019. There were over 900 million eligible voters, out of which 600 million people cast their ballots. The final turnout stood at over 67%, the highest ever for any general elections to date. Nearly 4 million electronic voting machines were deployed across 1 million polling stations, and over 8,000 candidates and 670 parties were in the fray. That's not all. The polls, which cost 600 billion rupees, are the world's second most expensive elections after the 2020 US presidential election.
Well, India's Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Mansukh Mandavia, will chair a meeting with various stakeholder agencies on Wednesday to review preparedness to tackle heat-related illness due to heat waves. The meeting will be attended by several officials from Niti Aayog, Indian Council of Medical Research, All India Institute of Medical Sciences for the action plan for upcoming summer season. India's Meteorological Department said that most parts of the country are likely to witness above normal maximum temperatures during April to June, with 10 to 20 days of heat waves expected in different parts of the country. And coming up next in sports, Lucknow Super Giants register their second win of IPL 2024 season, beating Royal Challengers Bengaluru by 28 runs. We'll tell you more ahead. And special arrangements have been made for elephants in India's southern state of Tamil Nadu to cope with the heat. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, the United Kingdom and the United States are working together on testing artificial intelligence models after signing the first agreement of its kind on AI safety. The partnership is aimed at ensuring the technology is developed safely and in a way that harnesses its potential. Julia Chapman reports for more from London.
US Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo called artificial intelligence the defining technology of our generation. She was speaking at a signing ceremony in Washington alongside UK Technology Secretary Michelle Donnellan. The UK and the US have agreed to share capabilities and risks and carry out at least one joint test on a publicly available AI model. They also plan to deepen cooperation between government institutes established in each country to tackle the challenges and opportunities presented by AI. Raimondo says the deal will help address national security risks and other concerns across society. Fears surrounding AI range from the technology replacing jobs to being used for bioterrorism. The UK has so far taken a fairly light approach to regulating the AI sector. In the US, President Joe Biden has signed an executive order mandating that results of safety tests for the most advanced models of AI must be shared with the government. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has worked to position the UK as a major player in the field of AI. He hosted a summit on AI safety late last year, bringing together international governments and industry leaders, including representatives from India. The UK and the US say AI safety is a global issue, and they will be looking to deepen cooperation with other countries as well as each other. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
Moving on, the World Bank has revised its growth projection for the Indian economy. So foreseeing a robust expansion of 7.5% in the fiscal year 2024. The World Bank forecast India's output growth to reach 7.5% in financial year 23-24, driven by resilient activity in services and industry. However, growth is expected to moderate to 6.6% over the medium term. The World Bank said in its latest South Asia Development Update that overall growth in South Asia is expected to be strong at 6.0% in 2024, driven mainly by robust growth in India and recoveries in Pakistan and Sri Lanka. According to the report, South Asia is expected to remain the fastest growing region in the world for the next 2 years, with growth projected to be 6.1% in 2025. While you're watching DD India News Hour, time now for some sports news. Lucknow Super Giants on Tuesday registered their second win of the IPL 2024 season, beating Royal Challengers Bengaluru by 28 runs at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bengaluru. LSG put up a total of 181 for 5 before RCB. Quinton de Knox 81 and Nicholas Pooran's unbeaten 40 run before youngster Mayank Yadav's 3-wicket haul helped bundle RCB out for 153 in 19.4 overs. Mayank Yadav left one and all amazed, bowling the fastest delivery of the season. Following Tuesday's victory, LSG ascended to 4th position in the standings. Meanwhile, Bengaluru's defeat saw them plummet down to 9th position. Meanwhile, Delhi Capitals will take on Kolkata Knight Riders in the match 16 of IPL 2024 season at the BDCA International Stadium in Visakhapatnam today. Delhi will be aiming at a second straight win in the 2024 when they host a high-flying Kolkata Knight Riders. DC broke their 2-game losing streak by producing a fantastic performance against reigning champions Chennai Super Kings on Sunday night. The victory certainly gave the Rishabh Pant-led side a truckload of confidence. On the other hand, KKR boasts a 100% win record in IPL 2024 so far. They have won both of the games against SRH by 4 runs and RCB by 5 wickets. And amid the sudden increase in temperatures, the Elephant Rescue and Rehabilitation Centre in India's southern state of Tamil Nadu has made special arrangements for the elephants to cope with the heat. The animals can be seen enjoying shower baths, mud baths and even swimming pools. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.